She was the woman everyone overlooked, an overweight single mother, scrubbing floors in silence while praying her sick little girl would breathe easier that night. He was the CEO of a billion-dollar company, a man used to polished boardrooms and perfect people. Their worlds were never meant to collide. But one afternoon, beneath the golden skylight of a corporate lobby, he stopped in front of her mop bucket and whispered 6 words that made the entire building freeze. "Have dinner with me. You'll have everything." A single photograph turned their lives into a scandal. Whispers spread. Headlines screamed. But what began as humiliation would soon reveal a truth no camera could capture, about grace, faith, and the quiet power of seeing someone who's been invisible for too long. This isn't a story about wealth or beauty. It's about a mother's faith, a man's redemption, and how one simple act of courage can turn a janitor's prayer into a miracle that changes an entire company, and 2 broken hearts, forever. The noon sun spilled through the skylight of Sable Ridge Innovations in Austin, turning the atrium's terrazzo floor into a slow river of light. Maya Thompson, 33, soft-bodied and strong-armed from years of lifting mop buckets, cheeks apple-round and often flushed, knelt beside a coffee spill and circled the stain with steady strokes. Her phone, face down in her apron, vibrated once. A text from the neighbor watching her daughter. "Lily's temp is holding. She's napping." Maya breathed out, quiet gratitude rising like a hymn. "Thank you," she whispered, not to the ceiling, but upward, the way she always did. The place hummed with designer shoes and clipped conversations. Glass elevators sighed. A receptionist laughed too brightly. Doors to the executive wing parted, and Jonathan Hale stepped into the light. Tailored navy suit, calm eyes, the kind of composure money buys and suffering teaches. He paused like a man remembering to be human in his own house, then walked toward Maya. He didn't make her stand. He didn't clear his throat. He just lowered himself into a half-crouch, so his voice would reach her without an audience. "Maya," he said, as if he'd practiced her name until it fit. "I know you don't have time for games, so I'll be clumsy and honest. Go out with me, please. You'll have everything." The mop paused mid-circle. Somewhere a phone camera clicked. Sharp, greedy, unforgiving. Maya's chest tightened. She felt the old reflex to disappear, to shrink inside her own frame. "You'll have everything." People had said versions of that to her before. Men who wanted rescue wrapped in the body of a mother. Warmth without weight, prayer without price. Jonathan's eyes didn't try to swallow her. They held, steady, the way you look at a person you're not trying to fix. "Mr. Hale," she said, straightening, palms damp around the handle. "I have a daughter at home with a fever and not enough sick days. I'm not what makes sense for you." He almost smiled. "Sense is for spreadsheets. I'm asking about dinner." Another camera click. An intake of breath from 2 analysts hovering by the ficus. The atrium shifted. Gossip finding oxygen. Maya felt heat crawl up her neck. "Lord, keep me small where I should be small and strong where I should be strong." "I don't date headlines," she said softly. "I don't want one," he answered. "I want you. And I know what a mess this already is." He exhaled, a thin line of vulnerability cutting through the CEO silhouette. "If you say no, I'll walk away and I'll mean it." By 4 o'clock, the building had seen the photo. Jonathan leaning toward the janitor with the midnight hair and lavender scrub top. The angle making intimacy out of gravity. Captions bloomed like weeds. Power gap, Cinderella in custodial, Hale's new hire. Maya kept working. Bins emptied, brass rails polished, the discreet ballet of all the hands that make a place shine without being seen. At 5:20, she was in the supply room, labeling a tray of spray bottles, when his reflection appeared in the chrome of the floor buffer. He didn't step inside. He took the door frame like a penitent. "I should have anticipated the photo," he said. "I didn't. But the invitation was real." Maya set down the Sharpie. Close up, he looked tired in a way that wealth can't defend. Edges softened by a life that has asked too much, too publicly. "Why me?" she asked. "Because when I pass you in the hallway, you meet my eyes and don't flinch. Because last Christmas, the gift cards you organized for the night crew had my signature on them, but your compassion in them. Because when your cart squeaks, the whole floor smiles, and I realize the squeak was joy I didn't pay for." He swallowed. "Because you worship and work and somehow hold both without apology. I want to learn that." Maya felt the prickle behind her eyes, the dangerous edge where kindness lives. She thought of Lily's inhaler refills, of utility bills spread like a losing hand across her kitchen table. She thought of the God who had not promised ease, only presence. "All right," she said at last. "3 rules. No reporters, no titles, just names. And if you perform for me, I'll leave without explaining." "Fair," he said. Relief flickered, then steadied. "You choose the place." She glanced at the wall clock, at the cleaning roster clipped to the corkboard. "The cafeteria, 9. After everyone's gone. I'll bring sandwiches." "I'll bring honesty," he said. When he left, the room felt larger. Maya wiped her hands on her apron and texted the neighbor, "Thank you for staying a little later. I owe you pie." She stood alone among brooms and bleach, a woman of wide hips and wider hope, whispering the smallest prayer she knew. "Be with me." Then she picked up her mop and finished the floor she'd started, circles widening, edges crisp, a path she could trust because she had made it herself. At 9 on the dot, the Sable Ridge cafeteria felt like a church after service. Lights dimmed to energy saver, tables pushed into neat rows, a faint scent of coffee and lemon disinfectant floating above the linoleum. The soda machine hummed like a tired organ. Outside the window wall, the Austin parking lot lay in amber pools of sodium light. Maya arrived first, lavender scrub top peeking from beneath a soft gray cardigan, hair pulled back with the same elastic she used to bundle mop cords. She set a brown paper bag on the table by the window and by force of habit, nudged 2 chairs in until their legs lined up square. She checked her phone. Lily drank some water. Fever holding. "We're watching a movie." "Mrs. Greer." A breath she didn't know she was holding left her. "Thank you," she whispered, to the one who'd always listened. Jonathan came 10 minutes later, not in armor, but in a white Oxford and jeans, blazer folded over his arm, fancy watch tucked out of sight. He looked like someone who'd left a meeting and walked straight through his own life into a quieter room. He paused a step from the table as if asking permission to cross into her world. "Maya," he said, just the name as promised. "Jonathan." She lifted the bag. "Turkey on wheat or roast beef on rye?" He smiled, surprised and sincere. "You brought dinner." "Vending machine pretzels are not hospitality," she said, half teasing. "And I'm Southern enough to believe people tell the truth better with food in their hands." They ate unceremoniously, elbows on laminate, napkins torn into nervous squares. Conversation ducked its head at first. Weather, traffic on Mopac, the absurdity of $7 cold brew. The silence that came between them didn't feel dangerous, just honest. The HVAC cycled, a motion sensor light blinked awake and went back to sleep. "Okay," Jonathan said finally, wiping his fingers, eyes steady. "Let's try something I use with teams when we're stuck. But I promise this isn't a strategy exercise. 60 seconds. We each say something true we don't normally say out loud. No debate, no fixing. We honor it with silence. Then switch." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You realize preachers use that trick." "I've been accused of pulpit talk," he said with a ghosted grin. "You first, if you'll trust me." She folded her hands to keep them still. "I am tired in my bones," she said softly. "Not the kind of tired a nap fixes. The kind where you keep going because a little girl with freckles believes you can move mountains. I am afraid she will wake up one day and see the world roll its eyes at me and learn to copy it." Jonathan's jaw tightened, not with pity but with the ache of recognition. He let the quiet sit. The soft whir of the beverage cooler filled the space and receded. "My turn," he said. "I am terrified that if I stop being useful, I disappear. Somewhere along the way, I learned to earn love with outcomes, and I don't know how to put that down without dropping myself." Maya nodded. "That sounds heavier than my mop." He huffed a breath. "Some days your mop looks like freedom." They traded truths like that, 1 minute at a time. She told him the guilt of praying for miracles and also for coupons. He told her the loneliness of rooms where everyone laughs at your jokes because they have to. She confessed she wears men's sneakers because women's sizes pinch, and she needs to keep her knees for the long haul. He admitted he keeps his father's voicemail on an old phone he doesn't charge, because the battery dying feels like grief winning. When he asked about Lily, Maya skimmed the surface. 7, brave, prone to wheezing when cedar pollen hits. A sticker chart taped lopsided on the fridge for brave breaths. She did not say ER copays or nights counting coins, though both lived in the corner of her mouth. Jonathan asked her favorite psalm. She said 23 for hospital corridors and 121 for nights. The inhaler whistled, and he surprised her by reciting the first lines from memory, stumbling but earnest. He did not talk about mergers or valuations. He asked her what hymn her grandmother hummed while stirring cornbread batter. She answered without thinking, and when she realized she'd given him a piece of her kitchen, she did not feel smaller. When they finished eating, Jonathan gathered the crumpled wax paper and reached for the trash. "I've got it," he said. Maya's laugh was soft. "You know I'm constitutionally incapable of letting someone else clean up." "Then let me carry half," he said, holding out his hands. It wasn't chivalry. It was fellowship. Before they left, Maya slid a folded index card across the table, his name on the outside in neat block letters. He opened it and read, "You don't scare me. You confuse me. That's rarer and maybe better." He looked up, eyes bright, and for a moment, the man who ran an empire looked like a boy who'd been handed a compass. At the door, he hesitated. "Maya, may I ask you, what do you want most that money can't buy?" She didn't have to think. "For my daughter to grow up kind, in a world that rewards sharp edges." He nodded as if receiving a commission. "Then that's what we'll protect." They stepped into the corridor, lights low, the long spine of the building stretching silent ahead. Somewhere above them, a phone camera had once clicked. Tonight, no one watched. Still, gossip has a way of waking early. In the morning, the building would buzz. By afternoon, the boardroom would hum. But for now, two people walked side by side, no titles, carrying their shared trash to the bin, practicing the smallest, bravest liturgy of ordinary things. By Monday morning, the photo had a new headline: CEO Jonathan Hale caught on secret date with overweight janitor. It wasn't true, but truth, Maya knew, rarely outruns shame. She kept her eyes down as she wheeled her cart through the glass corridors of Sable Ridge Innovations. Conversations thinned when she passed. Laughter dimmed to the click of keyboards. Someone from accounting murmured, "Promotion by flirtation," before pretending to cough. Maya said nothing. She prayed the same quiet prayer she'd whispered through every hard thing since Lily's birth. Lord, let me work, not break. That afternoon, Jonathan's assistant left a note on her cart. Stay out of the 12th floor today. It didn't say why, but she could guess. The board was meeting, and the board had seen the picture. Inside the top-floor conference room, a dozen men and women in suits sat beneath an oil painting of Sable Ridge's founder, a man who, ironically, had once been a janitor himself. The investor leading the charge, Richard Vaughn, slid a tablet across the polished table. The screen showed Jonathan and Maya in the cafeteria, sitting close, their faces lit by the low glow of the vending machine. The caption read, "Sleeping with the help." This, Vaughn said, voice dripping disdain, is the kind of behavior that wrecks shareholder confidence. It's reckless, it's inappropriate, and frankly, it's pathetic. Jonathan didn't answer. He counted breaths. 1, 2, 3. The discipline that kept his father's temper from becoming his own. Then he said quietly, "You're mistaken." "Mistaken?" Vaughn snapped. "Are you denying it's you?" "I'm denying the narrative," Jonathan replied. That picture shows two people talking about faith, about fear, about what honesty costs in this building. If you think decency is a scandal, maybe the scandal's on your end of the table. The room chilled. Someone coughed. Another reached for water but didn't drink. Jonathan knew he'd just cracked a wall he wasn't supposed to touch. Then the door opened. Maya stood there, holding a clipboard like a shield. She hadn't meant to come up, but a maintenance request had sent her to replace a flickering light. She froze at the threshold, realizing what she'd walked into. Every eye turned her way. Richard Vaughn's mouth curved in mockery. Perfect timing. The lady of the hour. Jonathan rose. "Maya, it's okay." She shook her head, trembling but steady. "No, sir. It's not okay." She looked around the table, her voice carrying the soft, even tone she used when calming Lily after a nightmare. "I may clean your floors, but I don't clean up lies. Mr. Hale never disrespected me. He spoke to me like a person, when most folks don't even see me. If that makes him unfit to lead, maybe leadership needs new eyes." Silence. Only the air conditioning dared to move. Vaughn sneered. "Are we done with the sermon?" Jonathan stepped forward, jaw tightening. "Actually, no." He turned to the board. "I hired you to challenge me, not to dehumanize my staff. If this company can't hold compassion without panic, then we've built something smaller than profit, and I won't run it that way." Maya's knees wobbled. She could feel her heart pounding against her uniform, but she didn't flinch. She'd stood in darker rooms, the ICU when Lily's oxygen dropped, the welfare office line that never moved. This was just noise dressed in suits. When the meeting adjourned, Vaughn stormed out muttering about investors and morality clauses. The others sat stunned, unsure which way power had shifted. Later, Jonathan found Maya in the basement supply room, staring at a cracked mirror above the sink. "You didn't have to come," he said. "I didn't plan to," she answered. "But maybe God did." He smiled wearily. "You probably cost me an investor." "And you probably gave them a conscience," she said. "Seems like a fair trade." They stood in the low light, surrounded by mop handles and the scent of bleach. Jonathan leaned on the doorframe. "You saved me in there." "No," Maya said softly. "You saved me first, when you saw me." Outside, thunder rolled across the Texas sky. The storm would pass, as they all did. But inside Sable Ridge, something deeper had shifted. An empire learning, maybe for the first time, that dignity doesn't need a corner office. Jonathan glanced at her, rain beginning to tap against the window. "Next time," he said quietly, "let me do the defending." Maya smiled, a small, tired smile that still had light in it. "We'll take turns." He nodded. "Deal." And for the first time since the photo, both of them laughed, softly, like two people remembering what grace sounds like when it finally breathes. 3 weeks passed. The whispers softened, then faded, drowned out by the rhythm of work and the hum of something new beginning to breathe inside Sable Ridge. Maya kept her head down, mopping the same marble floors where the photo had been taken. Jonathan hadn't called her since the boardroom storm, but she felt his quiet presence in small ways. The vending machines suddenly stocked with healthier snacks for night staff. The employee prayer group reinstated after years of corporate neutrality. The anonymous note on her locker. Faith still changes things. Then one night, while checking thermostats on the 10th floor, Maya noticed something odd. Every office light blazed even though no one was there. The air conditioners ran full blast for empty rooms. The next day, the same. The waste gnawed at her. With a maintenance logbook balanced on her cart, she began scribbling numbers. Kilowatt readings, cleaning rotations, HVAC cycles. After a week, her pages looked like a map of inefficiency. She ran her finger down the columns and murmured, "Lord, this building leaks money like a bad roof." On her break, she found Jonathan in the lobby, sleeves rolled up, talking to a contractor about a new solar initiative. For a moment, she hesitated. She was just a janitor, but the memory of that boardroom steadied her spine. "Mr. Hale." "Jonathan," she called. He turned, smiling. "Maya, how's Lily?" "Better," she said, handing him her notepad. "But your building's sick." He blinked. "Excuse me?" "The lights, the air. We're paying to keep empty rooms cold and conference halls glowing for ghosts. If you let me rearrange the cleaning schedule, rotate zones, run heavy equipment off-peak, you could cut your energy costs by a quarter." Jonathan took the notepad, flipping through her meticulous notes, her looping cursive peppered with prayers in the margins. "Guide my hands. Help me see the pattern." His lips parted in surprise. "Maya, this is brilliant." "It's common sense," she said. "But sometimes the people closest to the dirt see what's clogging the drain." He laughed softly. "You should be running operations." "I'd settle for permission to test it," she said. He led her upstairs to his office. Her first time on the executive floor. It smelled of cedar and ambition. Together they spread her diagrams across the sleek glass desk, and for 2 hours they built a pilot plan. the clean cycle. It would merge maintenance schedules with smart thermostats and timed lighting zones. When the pilot launched, results came fast. Week 1, 12% savings. Week 2, 18. Week 3, 27. News outlets caught the story. Headlines flipped from CEO's scandal to janitor's innovation, saves tech giant millions. Cameras came again, but this time Maya didn't flinch. She stood beside Jonathan as he presented the results to the board, her lavender uniform pressed, her badge gleaming under the lights. When he finished, he turned to her and said, "This is the woman who reminded me that value doesn't come with a title." The board voted to implement Clean Cycle company-wide. Richard Vaughn had resigned the week before, muttering something about new priorities. That evening, as the building emptied, Maya and Jonathan sat on the steps by the fountain outside. The water caught the sunset like molten glass. "You changed this place," Jonathan said quietly. Maya shook her head. "You listened. That's rarer." He studied her profile, the gentle roundness of her face, the way her eyes softened when she talked about her daughter. "Maya," he said after a moment, "you could do anything. You know that, right?" She smiled faintly. "I already do. I raise a little girl. I keep the lights on. I pray for people who don't even know I'm praying for them. That's enough doing." Jonathan looked at her, a man used to closing deals and opening possibilities. "Maybe it's not enough for me anymore." Her heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" He met her eyes, unguarded. "I meant what I said that first day. About dinner. About you. The difference is, now I'm not asking as a man trying to make headlines disappear. I'm asking as someone who's seen who you really are." Maya looked up at the sky. Pink, gold, merciful. "You know what's funny?" she whispered. "The cleaner ended up cleaning the company. And maybe," he said, voice low, "she's still cleaning me." She laughed through a sudden blur of tears. "We'll see if you can pass inspection." They sat there, the CEO and the janitor, their shadows stretching across the steps. Two people who'd met in scandal and ended up saving each other from the quieter ruin of loneliness. A month later, the lobby shone like redemption. Maya had just finished polishing the marble when she saw Jonathan walking toward her. Not in a suit, not with a camera crew, but carrying a folding table and 2 takeout bags. "What on earth?" she began. He smiled. "Dinner, right here, where it all started." She blinked, then laughed. "You realize the last time someone saw us here, the internet caught fire." "Then tonight," he said, "we eat in peace. No titles, no lenses, just us." He set the table in the middle of the atrium. 2 paper plates, 2 sets of plastic forks. The smell of garlic bread filled the air, battling faint traces of disinfectant. Maya slipped off her gloves, hands trembling. "You kept your promise, ma fille," he said. "I intend to keep more than that." They ate slowly, talking about small things. Lily's spelling test, the company's new suggestion program, the way the janitorial staff now had their own bulletin board in the main hallway. Jonathan told her he'd started going back to church, quietly, sitting in the back pew. "I didn't want to interrupt the prayers," he said, smiling shyly. Maya grinned. "Honey, prayers don't get interrupted. They get joined." At one point, she looked at him across the table, haloed by the soft light from the skylight above. "Why me, Jonathan? You could have anyone." He leaned forward. Because when you look at me, I remember who I am, not what the world says I should be. He paused, voice barely a whisper. When I said, "Go out with me and you'll have everything," I was wrong. You already had everything. Faith, kindness, courage. I just wanted to be part of it. Tears blurred her vision. You sound like you rehearsed that. He laughed. I didn't. I prayed it. They cleared the table together, stacking plates and cups, laughing at a breadstick that hit the floor. When they finished, Maya looked around the empty lobby, the marble, the light, the echo of beginnings. We started here, she said softly. And we'll keep starting, he answered. As long as we remember what we built. Something honest. She nodded. No rings, no contracts, not yet. He reached for her hand. Just grace. Outside, the Texas rain had stopped. The street shimmered, fresh-washed under streetlights. Jonathan walked her to the bus stop 3 blocks away. Lily's laughter echoed faintly through the speaker of her phone, a bedtime story waiting. At the curb, he said, "Same time next week?" Maya smiled, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I'll bring the sandwiches." "And I'll bring the honesty," he said. As she boarded the bus, Maya turned once, looking back through the drizzle. The building gleamed behind him, floors dark except one, the lobby still lit. He stood there watching her go, hands in his pockets, the light above him steady and warm. And in that quiet glow between marble and rain, between faith and love, 2 people from opposite worlds had finally met on the same ground. The place where truth lives and hearts learn to see each other clearly.